Welcome back to the Cinema Condition with your host, filmmaker, and creator of the Nerdcore Podcast Network, Raul Alejandro Mendoza. And as always, we are back for another movie with another guest. And I want to thank everybody because we have finally reached the second half of this new season, the first season, not the newest season. I'm so sorry about that. We've reached the second half of the first season, and I want to thank all the guests that have come before this episode. So we're going to get into our next half, which we are going to be seeing some new guests and also some returning guests. I'm very, very happy with two of the guests that I just got lined up during this 2-week break of the show. And I'm very happy to bring them on. And they picked some really good movies that I want to talk about. But today we're re-inviting another guest. And it was a guest that I completely forgot that we had her lined up for a second movie, because during this show, we do have some guests who have 3 or 4 movies picked out to be coming back on. But I completely forgot that this guest was going to come back for a second one.
Gee, thanks.
Well, you've heard her already. But today, I'm being joined once again by Michelle Ochoa, cinephile, and just great all-around friend of the network and myself. And she is also I guess I can now officially call her a voice actress, because she made her voice acting debut on a short film I helped edit. So without further ado, everybody, say hello to Michelle Ochoa.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words, Raul. I feel very motivated by the words that you use to describe my... Well, thank you so much for having me again. I was so excited during that dubbing of your movie. It was so cool.
Yeah. Michelle and I dubbed a short film that I helped on that I have to edit for a class, because the audio was pretty, bad that first day of shooting. So my professor told us that we could just, dub it in Spanish. And then Michelle and I actually did a pretty damn good job of dubbing the film. And we did. And Michelle has always wanted to do voice acting at one point. She always wanted to dub a film. So we went ahead and did a dubbing of a film. You haven't seen Michelle in, I want to say, 14 episodes. Michelle was on the second episode of this show for the Garden Awards from Makoto Shinkai. And today we're going to be talking about another film from Makoto Shinkai, but it's not Your Name, even though we're kind of just leading up to it. We're leading up to it. That might be a season 2 pick. But yeah, we're leading up to that wonderful one, because that's the one that Michelle wants to talk about the most. But she called dib to all these directors of filmography, so she's got special dibs on that one. So she's keeping that one in the pocket for now. Today we're going to be discussing 5 centimeters per second, but I wanted to ask Michelle, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. It was a chill day at work, and then just got back and did nothing but lay on the floor. I've been doing a lot of that. I've told you about it. Kind of just helps my back and gets me down to earth. I don't know. Do you ever feel, I don't know, sé tú, Raul, but I always feel sometimes like when I've just had a long day, I just want to lay on the ground and stare up like to nothing.
No, usually when that happens, I just put a movie on, and usually I'll put a movie on or like something I've watched before, so I can have background noise in the back. I never have the I don't like the idea of laying on the floor and laying down and just looking at nothing. It's not. Yeah, usually that type of behavior is associated with the terrible parts of me. So I'd rather not sit and do nothing. So I don't like sitting and doing nothing. So, I usually put on a movie or a TV show that I've watched before. And usually that will help subside the stuff that's making it a hard day to get by.
Well, I do that in listening to music. Does that count?
Okay, yeah. Well, we're listening to music, definitely. I'll put on music, but like I said, it will be something that I know coincides with that mood I'm having at the moment. So that way it can feel a little bit cathartic in a sense, but it's not just definitely me just laying down on the floor and looking at nothing, because also that just hurts my back a lot.
Oh, yeah. It helps mine.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel right. I don't have carpet anymore. It's all tile. So it feels like really cold on my back. So I'd rather not. Yeah. If I had carpet,
this really nice carpet that I bought.
Yeah. If I had carpet, it would be very different. But yeah. it's a it's been quite the ride as of late. With the quarantine stuff. I wanted to get a little bit of talk about how you doing this whole quarantine time, and if you're watching any movies during this time, which I know the answer to already.
You just want to like throw me under the bus here, dude.
You did watch the Israel 124 trilogy of Unbreakable, Split, and Glass.
Oh yeah, I did
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I watched those movies.
I'm
They're
gonna be
really
really
cool.
surprised. I'm gonna be really surprised if I got the name of that trilogy correct, because I think it is the Israel 124 trilogy. I don't remember, but yeah,
I thought it was just called The Unbreakable.
no.
Uh,
Oh, I'm sorry, I got the wrong number. It's the Israel 177
Oh.
trilogy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because that's the train he was on, right?
Mm-hmm.
From The Unbreakable. Yeah.
Yeah. Israel once is the the train that caused the whole the whole thing to happen. That's the official name, but what's it called? It's officially known as the Israel 177 trilogy. They call it the Unbreakable series, or they can call it the
Mm.
Unbreakable trilogy, but it's mostly just the Israel 177 trilogy. But yeah, no, that you watched that. But I wanted to know how quarantine's been treating you.
Well, at the beginning, it was pretty scary because you know how I got asthma and
Yeah.
I was all scared about it, and I didn't go to work for a while. And I was just at home because I was getting sick. But then it sort of got better. My anxiety got better, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started going back to work because
Yeah.
I mean, gotta pay them bills. And so I think I'm pretty good now. The movies and the anime have definitely helped me stay sane so far. I haven't, like Raul said, been watching so many movies as he'd like me to do. I mean, to watch. But I have seen a lot of anime series from my list.
Yeah.
From Hulu on Netflix, Prime Video, and like on this website on the side that I used to watch
Yeah.
anime.
Yeah, I got the 14-day free trial with a Crunchyroll, so I'm gonna have to ask for some recommendations for this.
Ooh, you should definitely watch The Promised Neverland. It's about a kid farm.
Okay, but
It's so cool.
yeah, well, I also have to catch up. This is the reason why it's kind of hard to watch extra stuff on the side that is not podcast stuff, because it's hard for me to get a hold of it and stay committed to it, because I also have to watch the stuff I have to do for the podcast and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, today was a pretty good day. I watched this film, and I watched The Terrorizers from Edward Yang, but nobody's chosen that one.
Ooh.
God, what a great Taiwanese movie. Oh, damn, that was a good movie. But yeah, I mean, without further ado, we don't even have to introduce the filmmaker known as Makoto Shinkai, because we've already, introduced him before. But I will say, though, before Michelle and I, after Michelle and I did that episode, I had the chance to watch his newest film, Weathering with You with Michelle. Yeah, Weathering with You. Weathering with You with Michelle. So that's another one that Michelle's going to get the chance to choose later on in the coming seasons.
Definitely. Our experience watching that movie was some
With something else. Yeah, I never had my arm, hold on tight like that. Like, crap, Val, Michelle has quite the grip on her hands. If you ever get to experience her being really excited at a movie, she was gripping my arm like really, really hard. Like it kind of hurt. Not gonna lie.
Excited. I was trying to share my excitement.
No, I get it. It's just, what's it called? It hurt. It hurt, man. Like what? All of a sudden,
you ain't got no more bruises, do you?
Nah, I don't. But it's whatever. And we're going to go ahead and get into this one. So, here at the Cinema Condition, and I'm going to have to remind you guys, it's a mid-season. We're back from the mid-season finale. So here at the Cinema Condition, we do things a little bit differently. We're not here to review the movie. We're not here to say if we like it or not. That is out of the roof. We did Interview with the Vampire with Rachel Sweetland. I did not like that movie at all, but I still was able to handle a 50-minute conversation about the themes of vampires and, eroticism in vampire films like that. So that whether you like the movie or not is completely out of the norm. We are here to discuss the aspects of the film, the themes, everything that surrounds the movie and makes it what it is. We're not here to talk about whether we like it or not, or what was done right or what was done wrong. This is just a plain analysis of the film we discuss. And I know Michelle was very confused as to what analysis meant when I first brought her on. But now, after her coming on for the second time and her listening to other episodes, hopefully, I hope that now she knows what we're doing here. But I'm glad for everybody to be coming back to us, and I'm glad that we're going to be continuing on with this season. And we're going to go ahead and get into this. So, Makoto Shinkai's 5 centimeters per second is different from his other movies. First of all, this film is broken up into 3 chapters, or 3 episodes. In the life of Tanaki Tono. I believe I said his name correctly. Why am I opening?
His name is Takaki Tono or Tono or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say his last name.
Why did I open PowerPoint? That's what I want to know.
Are you trying to give me a presentation on the movie?
I could possibly give you a presentation of the movie. But yeah, in the life of Tono, I'm just gonna say Tono, okay? Tono, because I can't say that first. Takaki Tono. So that's that life of Takaki Tono. We started when he was a young kid, barely out of elementary school, going into middle school, and then in the second episode we have him in high school, and then in the third episode we have him as an adult. We see mostly the love life of Takaki Tono and what he and especially his love for a certain girl who he seems to have throughout his head and throughout his physical appearance most of the time. And yeah, that's mostly the synopsis for this film. And I got to say, what's it called? One of the things that elevates this film really well, I think that Makoto Shinkai constantly does this. And feelings aside from the film, the way that he makes the city feel very, very real. He brings these so he actually takes real inspiration from real parts of the city and recreates them in his animation. And I think that's incredible of Makoto Shinkai. And because he's able to replicate, an actual real place and really make these stories feel like they're real. So I really got to hand it off to him for that, because it really does elevate the way that the film plays out.
Yeah, definitely. Throughout the whole movie, I noticed that he doesn't use, at least in this one, he doesn't use a lot of music in the background. So you could take out like those little noises from the background that make it seem really real. Like being in the train, walking in the snow, the air, like them just walking in the sidewalk or something, the rain, all those like little noises from the background make it seem so real. And it also reminded me of when I was in Japan and all these like places look familiar. So I could see that it looks really beautiful. It makes you like really immerse yourself, like you're actually in the city.
Yeah, for sure. And you gotta really give it to the guy for being able to recreate those. And he does have a very specific visual style to his films, and the first thing I heard from Michelle when I said that we're gonna go ahead and do this one next, she had called it out. She said, "Oh, I really want to see 5 centimeters per second. I really want to do that one." She's like, "Wow, it looks a lot like Your Name," and it kind of does in some instances. It kind of doesn't in some, but he does have that very specific visual style. And after having watched Weathering with You, I also remember that that visual style was very Your Name-esque as well. So it's very pleasing to see that he kind of has the same visual style, a la, Hayao Miyazaki and his visual style, and mostly Ghibli. But it's also very apparent of like, just that type of animation, just how beautiful it looks. And yeah, so did you freeze?
No.
Okay, I'm so sorry. You were like this the whole time. I thought you froze. But yeah, there's a lot of really interesting themes in this film. There's always this nice theme of urbanization in his movies. Just the city life versus the rural life, and you get a lot of that in this one, especially when that snowstorm hits, and he's like, and he even says it. There was a moment in that train ride where I stopped seeing buildings, and you just saw the rural countryside of Japan. And
Yeah, or basically nothing because
mhm,
he's just stuck there and all you could see is the nothingness filled with snow and yeah, it
yeah,
just made it feel really, really real. Like you were in that moment stuck at the same time as he was. Like
yeah.
seeing the time just pass by slowly, getting frustrated and anxious at the same time.
Yeah, because he moves from the city to the countryside, and then he moves back to to the city when he becomes an adult to go to Tokyo. So it's just interesting, rather, how Makoto Shinkai really does make the city feel so congested when he goes out. So when he goes out to the city, to the country, it just feels so like open and very very non-congested in a way.
Yeah, you can see how at the beginning he's at this train station and it's just filled with people and you hear all these footsteps like we were saying um earlier about those little background noises and stuff. Like you could listen like all those footsteps of people just going and leaving and moving and then suddenly slowly the sounds stop. Like they stop.
Yeah,
It's just him walking or you listening to the trails of the train or like chatter in the background but like really really like in the far back and it's just it gets you in the mood of what he's trying to give you, which is like he comes from all these thoughts and he's going through all this stuff and then suddenly he's going to this one thought and that's
yeah.
her and like being in this part of the city which is further away from him.
Yeah, it's like as when he's inside the city, his thoughts are so convoluted. He goes out to the country to see Akari, and it's really like, okay, now you're the only thing I'm thinking about, and I'm not thinking about school. I'm not thinking about my home. I'm not thinking about anything else but you, and I'm here waiting for you. It's quite it's great how he does that. How Shinkai really directs that, and how he really does, basically ground that in the idea of urbanization and just how the city feels compared to the country. And this is coming from somebody who enjoys the city a lot. I love the city. I can never picture myself living inside a countryside of a state. I can never do that.
Oh really?
I love the feel of the city. I love buildings. Excuse me, don't want to burp into the microphone. I love seeing just the amount of people because usually for somebody who is as anxious as I am, a lot of people would get me anxious, but my mind starts drifting to the possibility of like all these people live different types of lives. So it just makes me so interested as to what everybody does and what drives them and what makes them them. So I just love seeing people and I love seeing, creativity inside the city and just the different types of architecture. That's just how that's just how I work. When I'm inside of the country, it feels very secluded, it feels very alone. It feels like there's not much to actually, explore within itself, people wise. And I guess that's also why I'm pretty good at podcasting because I'm really interested in hearing what people have to say. So it goes hand in hand with the stuff I do. But that's why I feel like, even though Takaki, when he's inside the city, he's very convoluted. He has his thoughts like going all over the place. It does make sense for him to kind of refresh himself once he hits the countryside.
Yeah, because he definitely moves it whenever he on the second chapter where he moves to this one, what was it, an island, right? Like he
Yes.
moved to this island where it's like away from the city and he kind of just stands still, like his thoughts and everything is just at a standstill compared to when he was at the city and he was like playing soccer and then he was doing this other he was with his parents or he was doing this other thing and talking and going on the train and seeing all these people and then suddenly it's just like okay, now I can't do anything but think of her because there's nothing else distracting me from my thoughts.
Yeah, and I think that that's what's so interesting about the second chapter because usually I thought that they were gonna end up together and everything was gonna be fine with them too, but you really do get the thought that it is sad that this girl has to realize, oh, I'm not the one he wants,
Mm-hmm.
but this whole secluded area on this island does allow for Takaki to finally realize like I moved away and this is my high school years and I'm still thinking about this same girl still thinking about this girl who I probably haven't seen in years and years. And it's kind of beautiful, but at the same way, it's also kind of sad in a way because he's not really allowing himself to move past it. And
Yeah.
yeah, and then and I think once again that's just so beautifully represented by the city versus the country in here.
Yeah, because in the city it was like full of possibilities, let's say, of being able to transport yourself from one place to another when she moves out. And then just kind of like the first chapter gives you this hopeful kind of theme in it, or like this feeling of maybe this could work, maybe we could do these things to make it work.
Yeah,
But then towards the end he realizes, and they both realize, that that's probably the last time they'll ever be together like that,
yeah,
or that they could ever do anything to be together.
yeah. And I say that what's it called? It's a progression of just melancholy that follows because
Hmm.
in the first, like you're saying, there's hope. He loses that letter. He has all his feelings for her, and
That would
she
hurt.
yeah, and she doesn't want to give the letter that professes her love for him. So there's that hope. Okay, we lost out on this one instance. Maybe down the road we'll have it. And then it just gets melancholier and it gets more melancholic as it goes. He's
Yeah,
he's a
I
senior.
think it like the losing of the letter, her not giving it to him, it's kind of like foreshadowing what's gonna happen later on. And it's kind of both
Mhm.
of them realizing, you know what, like it's not worth it. Because what's the point? You would just feel more pain by knowing how the other person feels about you. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And it just gets way more melancholic. After the second chapter, he's like, well, I'm going to try to apply for Tokyo and see where this takes me. And it's him kind of just realizing, like, if it couldn't happen by now, I don't think I'm going to find her again. Or maybe if I go back to the city, there might be a chance that she goes back there too. We're kind of returning to our roots, per se. But it just, it doesn't work out that way. And that's to me is where Shinkai works his best. Is when he's playing with the unrequited love, and the tale of innocence and youthful and youth. I think that that's one of the biggest themes in his movies, and yes, I think that that's present throughout every single one of his movies because it's usually what he chooses to concentrate on. It's usually always about the relationship between a young couple, or usually what's it called? Just relationships in general.
Yeah, definitely in the second part, like in the second chapter, you could tell that he's kind of holding on to that like pure innocent type of love. He's not really looking into um something different. Like if he would have wanted, let's say, just to not be lonely, he probably would have just been with this girl
That
that
girl, yeah,
clearly has something for him.
yeah,
And the girl's just there following him around, and this guy's just holding on to the thought of maybe I'll have this. Maybe I
yeah,
could do it. Maybe we could find ourselves in the future.
yeah. And once again, I think all these movies are kind of just piece by piece building up to what he fully explores in Your Name. I think
Mhm.
that's literally what he's doing. He's just giving like little chapters of what will finally be explored in Your Name, because a lot of what Garden of Words would talk about is being explored in Your Name, and in this one as well. And I've never seen Children Who Changed Lost Voices, or
Mm.
the places promised in our early days. I've never seen those two. And I think that what's it called? That I think that it's for sure. This is just kind of ramping up to that, and it's like you can finally explore those themes inside Your Name, but it's explored in a more happy manner, in a more fantasy like and science fiction like. But this one is just a grounded, real story of what this lonely man now has to feel about never being able to explore the love that he felt for this girl, and kind of the time wasted after chasing her for so long.
Yeah, all that time that um he was thinking about her and writing, well, trying to write her, because this guy never ever sent something back because of the same reason, that he knew that it probably wouldn't work, or maybe she was moving on and he didn't want to be the cause probably of her not being able to move on anymore because he would try to bring up all these feelings again to him. So it was just best to kind of like keep it in and then try and move on. Because now that
Yeah.
he's all grown up and stuff, he even talks about like dating this girl for 3 years and stuff, but and working at this company and stuff. And then suddenly he realizes, you know what, this is just not fulfilling me anymore. And just
Yeah.
kind of like lets go of everything.
Yeah. And that's a great segue into just one of those things that this movie really talks about. It's the way that we manage our feelings. And it's the very human way that we do it. Like, it's so easy for people to throw out, just tell her, just tell her, just tell her, just tell him,
Mhm.
just tell him. As you can tell by the girl in this one, she, even though she was so close to doing it, there was something in her that just made her pull back and say, no, I can't tell him.
Mhm.
And he is the same way. There's just something holding him there that keeps him from sending that out. There's always some doubt in your mind that is constantly telling you, no, don't go for it. Even though it's super easy for you to say, shoot your shot, right? You
Yeah.
know, shooters never shoot, shooters never miss, shooters shoot, right? All that stuff. But there's always something in the back of your head that is always saying, you know what, maybe right now is not the time. And maybe it'll never be the time. And he's
Mhm.
constantly just holding it in. And it's really interesting the way that it's kind of portrayed here.
And it kind of gets you thinking about how, like, how exactly are we as people doing it ourselves? Like, how are we using, like, how is Shinkai showing our feelings too, like portraying them in this film the same way? Like,
Hmm.
we ourselves also have these anxieties or these moments of, like, you know what, it's not the time. You know what, it's probably never going to be a time. So why even bother? But then again, you're like, am I going to regret this in the future? Should I
Yeah.
do something? Should I shoot my shot and then see maybe something goes? Like, which one's going to hurt the least? Kind
Yeah.
of.
And I agree with you. Which one's gonna bring me the less pain?
Hmm.
Is the fact that she might not be into me the same pain as I'm 30 years old. I'm looking out my window and I'm still thinking about this girl and it still hurts the fact that I was never ever able to tell her how I felt.
Yeah, definitely. It kind of it gets you thinking like, do you do you choose? You have two options, and both of them are obviously going to hurt.
Hmm.
But do you choose the one that's? How do you know which one's going to hurt the least
Yeah.
if you don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow?
Yeah. And that's such a hard one to maneuver because we don't know which one hurts the most because,
Hmm.
especially for some of us who, if we like Ta- Tanaki, Takaki, uh, he is very attached to her.
Very.
So it is probable that both of those hurt just the same. So he's probably just blocking it and not wanting to even think about it because it's easier to do that than it is to actually, communicate your feelings properly to the person. And the same could be said for that girl in the second chapter. She can just cry herself to sleep at night knowing that she never got to tell him and stay in love with him. And that'll probably hurt just as much as being told, hey, I'm not into you.
Yeah, because you don't know. It's kind of, you can't experience both things and then say, okay, I choose this one. It's
Yeah.
kind of in that moment, you just have to think whatever's best at that specific moment. Like, what do you think at that moment was the best choice to make?
Yeah. And knowing teenagers and young people, because we were at one time one of them,
Yeah.
it was very easy that if somebody were to tell us, hey, I like you, and we didn't feel the same way, we just stopped talking to them altogether. And just, it was super easy to do that, which in turn probably caused more pain than it should have. And I think that that's a really interesting realm to play in when you're starting to portray young love like that.
Yeah, because uh, it's just the way that he was portraying all of that stuff. It gets you thinking of like, oh, when I was 13, was I this cringy? Was I like this hung up? And then suddenly you realize, like, yeah, like when I was 13, if somebody would have told me that they loved me or that they were into me and that we would be together forever, I'd probably be hung up on them still. But then you also think about, like, if someone would have told me, you know what, you're just not that person, I would probably think that I would never find a person that loves me. So it's kind of like those lingering feelings that you have from a young age that really cause an effect when you grow. You grow up and you're trying to find something that you didn't have before.
100%, man. And it's just it's tough. It's tough the way that you maneuver those things, and it's kind of, and like I said, especially when you're young, when you're growing up,
Mm-hmm.
and you're so anxious about your possible first love ever, and it's hard to really maneuver that. And if those two would have gotten together, the ones in chapter 2, that girl and Takaki, even if they would have gotten together, at one point he had to, what's it called, confront the fact
Realize,
that,
yeah, he
yeah,
would still
he had
realize.
yeah, he still had to confront at one point that he has feelings for Akari, and he
Mm-hmm.
can't get past those without properly talking to her and putting them out there.
Yeah, because it's kind of one of those things that people say, I don't know what the translation it is in English, but like clavo que saca otro clavo. I don't know if there's like a phrase for it in English.
No, I'm not sure.
No, well, it basically means that you go out with someone to get away from some other feeling, but that's just fake. Like that does not exist. That's like all he does. If he would have dated this girl from the second chapter, how he says in the third chapter is that he probably would have just put away those feelings, and then if he,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, would have seen um a cherry tree, or I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
listen to something or saw something, smelled something, whatever it is that made him remember
Yeah.
her, all those feelings would have come back up again.
Yeah, and just it's not properly getting our closure that we want. How many of
Mm-hmm.
us are still hung up on the same person from years and years and years ago, right? Talking from my experience, I probably am in that boat. I'm still, there's still that what if, and just the smell of a certain thing or a song from a certain artist brings back those memories, and you're kind of left with that, but you're also reminded that the enemy of that was time, and the time that it took that maybe not to the time that it took to maybe not move on, or the time it took to maybe move on at the time. And it's interesting the way that Takaki, why do I keep wanting to call him Tanaki? Takaki wants to maneuver that, and kind of really wants to play circles around it and not have to come to it, even though at the end is when he finally has to come to that feeling like, yep, I'm never gonna be with her. I
Yeah,
missed my shot.
I think what he tried to do, at least during the second chapter, was that at first he was trying to get over these feelings, because we see at first, like, okay, I'm realizing all these feelings for this girl and I really want them to happen, but you realize you can't have them happen. So in the second
Hmm.
chapter, he's trying to hide those feelings and say, you know what, I gotta move through this and I gotta keep these feelings, and
Hmm.
then eventually I'll probably try and date someone different. And then during the third chapter, he tries, you see where he actually tries to date
Hmm.
someone, but then
It doesn't
ends up
work.
realizing anyway that it did not work either way. Like, putting aside your feelings or dating someone else did not work. It probably would have
Yeah.
been how you said that unless you talk to this person and put all these feelings out, then you're probably not gonna get anything done, because it's still the what if, what if, what if.
What if? Yeah, it's the what if that keeps on ringing in the back of our heads. And when we come back, we will go ahead and continue our conversation on Makoto Shinkai's 5 centimeters per second. But for now, I need you all to listen to this wonderful commercial break made by a lot of wonderful people. It's 5 minutes long, I know. But you know what you can do on those damn phones that you guys love. There's a skip button. You can just skip through it and you come back to this conversation. Either way, I appreciate anybody who listens to those commercials. So when we come back, we'll continue our conversation. Stay tuned for a commercial break. Hey, I'm Raul Alejandro Mendoza, and this is
Jabril Newton.
and we are the hosts of High Flyer Radio. And finally, pro wrestling has come back to the Nerdcore podcast feed in the form of a show hosted by Jabril and I. And we talk about everything and anything in the pro wrestling world on Mondays at 3 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Nothing's off limits. Whatever you guys want to talk about, it is from AEW to SmackDown, to Raw, to NXT. Nothing's off the table. We can talk about it.
We're going to talk all about it. And if you can get it a day early, you should go to the www.patreon.com/thenerdcore and pledge to the tiers on there so you can get this show and a lot of shows days early before anybody else gets to hear it. But enough talking about it. We'll go ahead and see you there at the Squared Circle. Oh, yeah. Don't tap out. Tune in.
Tune in.
Hey, it's Ashley from the Gamer Core. You may remember me from such episodes as Big Screen Mess, Mo Money Mo Platforms, and Brad Can Read. Tune in weekly as I blab with my co-hosts Raul the Nerdy Chicano and Brad the Random Germ about the latest news in gaming and gush over what we're playing at the moment. Oh yeah, and we got the deals too. Keep up with the latest deals in gaming and what's happening as I mediate Brad and Raul fighting like a married couple. Will Death Stranding ever come out? Will Cyberpunk 2077 live up to the hype? Is a next-gen worth a $500 console price tag? And has there ever been a movie adaptation of a video game that's been done right? It's all on the Gamer Core podcast, everywhere where podcasts are.
Hey everyone, my name is Raul, the Nerdy Chicano, and I am the host of The Impaired Files. The Impaired Files is an interview show brought to you every Thursday on the Nerdcore podcast feed. And I interview people such as filmmakers, content creators on YouTube, and podcasters like Colton Geschwander. And if you want to listen to that early, a whole week early, all you got to do is go to the Patreon and pledge to the $1 tier. And if you want to listen to it with the general public, then go to the Nerdcore podcast feed on anchor.fm/thenerdcore. And the case is closed, but it's not classified. See you guys there.
Hey guys, this is Brad, aka Young Yoda. Raul said I had to make an ad, so that's what I'm doing. It's supposed to be for Unstructured, but as you guys know, you can freaking catch me everywhere when it comes to this podcast feed. You can find me on the Nerd Cores, on Gamer Cores, on Nerdy Chicanos sometimes when I get lost. But for this particular one, I want you guys to go check out Unstructured. The Raul gave me free reign to do whatever I want to do. I don't know what he was thinking. So go hear me talk about LeBron James and Taco Tuesday, vaping, so many other freaking weird topics that chimichangas, that's a good one. Shout out to Deadpool. And yeah, I guess this is the end of the ad. So if you guys want to find me, you can find me all over the place on this podcast feed. Anyways, thank you guys for listening. I love you all. And nerd up.
Hello, 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 guys and gals, and you're listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore. I am your host, Daniela Nunez, and along with my amazing co-host, Ashley Garcia, we discuss many things like social impact, pop culture, political realms, and any controversy surrounding the Nerdverse. Tune in and listen to us bi-weekly on the Nerdcore podcast feed, and we will love to chat and hear your thoughts on our wonderful show. And thank you again for listening to The Ladies of Nerdcore.
What's up, everybody? It is me, Raul, and I'm one of the hosts of the Nerdy Chicano Show. The Nerdy Chicano Show is a comedic show brought to you by Luis and myself, and it comes to you all every Sunday on the Nerdcore podcast feed. You can catch it a day early by becoming a Patreon and supporting us at the $1 tier. And I don't really know how to explain this show other than it's fun. We get to talk about whatever we want, and it helps you move on in the week. So if you want to catch the Nerdy Chicano Show every Sunday at 8 a.m. All you got to do is go to anchor.fm/thenerdcore, and we'll see you there, baby. Hey, everyone, I'm Raul.
And I'm Brad.
And we're the hosts of the Nerdcore Podcast, the podcast that talks that nerd. Not on this ad, right?
Not
and
on this one.
We come to you every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday. On the Mondays, we talk the news. That's the box office, the news of the week, and your trailer talk if there is any. And on Tuesday, we have our theme review. And on Saturday, you have a Saturday morning review, usually movies that have come out in the week or anything we want to talk about. Right, Brett?
Exactly. Whatever we want to talk about, this is our show. If you don't like it, then you don't have to listen.
We're the flagship show of the Nerdcore podcast feed, and we can be found everywhere you can listen to podcasts like Stitcher, Apple Podcasts. So if you want to talk that nerd stuff with us every Monday, Tuesday, and Saturday, make sure you tune in. And Brad?
Young Yoda out.
Welcome back to the Cinema Condition. We're back from commercial break, and we're going to continue our conversation on Makoto Shinkai's 5 centimeters per second. with our guest, Michelle Ochoa. But, as always, I want to thank you all for listening to those wonderful commercials. And if you are interested in getting this episode a day early, well, not a day early, this is going to be a week earlier than everybody else. You can go to patreon.com/nerdcore to help us out. And we know it's a pandemic, so it's not mandatory, my friends. But if you do want to help us out, there is an avenue to help us out. And that is it. It's patreon.com/nerdcore. Michelle is a wonderful patron of ours, and she gets all these episodes earlier than everybody. You also kind of get a lot of other cool stuff with your patronage. So go over to www.patreon.com/nerdcore and look at the tiers and which one fits you the most. And I hope you, consider pledging to us. If you don't, if you can't, it's fine. Just listening to this helps us out a lot. So, yeah, we're back with Michelle, and we're talking about this film. And we've got a little bit of more ground to cover before we can call it a day here at the Cinema Condition. But there was something that I did want to bring up that, that's still kind of prominent in chapter 2 that Michelle was talking a little bit about off air. And we were really talking about that whole, somebody just becoming a memory at a point, right? Just somebody that was close to us, after we realized that we could never actually be with that person, they just end up becoming a distant memory. And sadly, that hurts as well. Like a lot of things in life.
Because he starts saying, like, when did I start sending all these things to this person and knowing that they'll never receive them? It's more like he kind of has this image of her, but not really, because he knows that he doesn't know her anymore. It's just he's in love with this memory of her, not in love with the person that she is now. And he kind of starts moving towards that feeling that all she is now is just this dreamlike memory that she existed at one point.
I think that's so interesting that Shinkai really covers that, because that's a thing that a lot of us go through. After time has passed and we were not able to either continue or start a relationship with that person, they've just become that memory, like the movie says. And that person is stuck in the back of our heads. That person just lives on in our subconscious. Doesn't really, it doesn't really go as far as that anymore.
Yeah, and sometimes not even just romantic relationships, but friends too. It happens a lot that you love this one kid that was your best friend in elementary school or in middle school, and then now you don't even talk to each other. You just think, oh yeah, I used to have this one friend I would like mess around with in class or whatever.
Yeah.
And now it's like I don't even remember their name or how they looked, but I remember there was this one kid.
Yeah, it's like that annoying tweet that always goes around Twitter. At one point, you and your friends played outside for the last time, and you didn't know that you wouldn't see each other after that one time.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's the truth. Like but in a sense as well, we idealize people. I think that's a very human thing that we do. We kind of build them up to be something that they're really not, and that really does corrupt the way that we view them. And in one instance, it also goes hand in hand with romantic feelings. We build them up to be this godlike creature that, wow, you're the one and only, right? You're the one that shines brighter than everybody else, and we idealize them. And it really does make it hard for that one moment where you can't really have them. And sadly, those feelings are not reciprocated, or, instances like in the film that the person moves away and you don't find them until the very end when you're back in the same city. And that one moment passes when you just had your last chance and you didn't take it.
Yeah, and especially in that one point where because we don't even know if it was her or not, but he kind of thought he saw her, and he says that maybe that was the last time, like the last chance you would have had. But like you said, you have these. It comes to a point where you might at that point seen so many like little things that were wrong with that other person or something, but then later on you stop thinking about all the bad things and just think of all the good things, and you put these people on a pedestal, and it makes it even harder
Yeah.
for you to think, oh, I have to forget about these people because of this and this and this reason.
Yeah.
It's more of a, oh no, I have to cling to this feeling onto this person because they're the only people that understood me, that knew what I was going through, or that were able to, I don't know, see the future the same that I did.
Yeah.
And that corrupts, like you said, it corrupts the way that we see other people. And then it just, I think it like makes our expectations higher to looking for something, and maybe that's why he was never able to really find someone that could fill that void, because he had all these expectations of what it should feel like when maybe it wasn't that perfect, if you thought about it, I guess, completely.
I mean, if you put it into kind of in retrospect, he really didn't know her all that much. You know, they were just kids who loved to read at the library, hated going outside and doing nothing. They just wanted to read. And people teased her, so she would protect him. And when they teased him, she would protect him. And they seem to have grown a little bit close to each other because that tight bond. But in hindsight, you know, they were only, you know, I don't know how Japan education works, but if I'm putting it into a retrospect of how the American education system works, they were only together for like 2 years that they knew each other, 4th and 5th grade, right? And then they went to junior high. So, like, they didn't get to know each other all that well, like, if per se, you know, people who stick through all of elementary with each other. And, like, they find each other throughout that time, and they spent middle school together. And then suddenly, once middle school ends, high school starts, and that person moved away to another state, let's say. Like,
yeah, because people start changing. Like every day, people are changing a little bit. Like maybe people don't completely change who they are, but I mean, we don't know who we are. You know, it's kind of like, how do you expect someone else to actually know everything about you and think that they're the only person for you? And I think he even describes it in one of his letters that he writes to her, and she writes to him, saying how you probably wouldn't recognize me now because I cut my hair, or that I'm different, or that I do things differently, because you don't know what she was doing over there. I mean, she could have been, I don't know, she could have gotten a new hobby, or she could have met this person that changed her life or her thoughts. And this guy over here, at the beginning, he's like, oh, I only like reading and don't like doing anything outside. But then we see him in middle school and he's playing soccer, and then in high school he's doing archery. So all those things that started to create the person that he is, she doesn't know.
Yeah, and if I'm allowed to get a little bit personal on here, I think, you know, in the way that I'm able to relate this film, at least in the friendship route, it really does speak a lot to the situation that you and I have, right? You know, yeah. The person you knew in high school and me is very, very different from the person I am at the moment. So maybe in the back of my head, when you sent that message back like a year ago, I was like, is this girl even really interested to still be friends with me? Because, like, you know, I'm definitely not the high school Raul. And, like, if she was a really big fan of that guy, then right now was not the good time to be calling or, you know, messaging, because I'm definitely not that person anymore. So it really, because I think that's something, like you said, even if it's not relationship wise, we are able to relate to it as well, is because of like friendships.
Yeah, because I mean, let me tell you a little bit. I think I might have told you already. What happened was, I think I saw a post of you on Instagram, because I had you on Instagram, and I saw something about the podcast, or I saw I heard in my Spotify something about the podcast you could listen to, and I was like, oh, I remember this of my classmate Raul, because back in the day, I mean, I still considered you my friend, but we were just like classmates from high school, you know. And then I listened to it, and then I heard you, and I was like, damn, Raul's grown so much. Like, he's all this person that was completely out of the box. Well, maybe you don't consider yourself out of the box yet. and all the
Um,
like a less of a not as an extrovert as I am, right? Compared to me, but you
I'm an introvert that is interested in exploring different comfort zones, if you would, you know.
yeah.
I have
And
my
that
moments where I'm an extrovert, but for the most
most of the
time, if I
time.
could be sitting at this same place and doing this all day, I wouldn't want to have to go outside.
But yeah, definitely. Like I remember listening to one of the podcasts, and I was like, wow, like I'm so proud. Like Raul just kind of because I remember you in high school, you were kind of didn't really want to talk to a lot of people. You
Mhm.
barely ever talked to me because I basically made you talk to me because I was always bothering you and wanting to talk to you. And then this time I was like, you know what? I'm gonna tell Raul that I'm like, it's just so cool that he's doing all the stuff that he wanted to do or that he set out to do. Because I remember that first time that you wanted to start the podcast and how small of an idea it kind of was,
Yeah.
and then it became all this big thing.
Yeah.
And we've been learning about each other this past year, and I'm pretty sure you always remind me, may I say, every time we talk about something, you're like, well, you don't know me as much as you think you do. I'm like, I know, I never said I
Yeah.
knew everything about
But
you.
it's true because, and that's kind of being reinforced in this film. We
Mhm.
don't always know everybody 100%
Yeah,
because
no.
every day we're changing little by little. Like it's not little things like you know, like, oh, I don't like this today and tomorrow I do. No, it's little things like the way that we kind of work as human beings, because the human condition is a very interesting but very difficult thing to grasp at times. And it's why I love film as much as I do, is because film is supposed to be talking about the human condition. And we are always constantly changing. So Takaki, even though he's idealized this girl for so long, he kind of at the end does come to terms that maybe it's just not gonna happen, and I have to move on, and I have to kind of change because I've basically taken years to just kind of build this girl up to like possibly being with me, and it's just not gonna happen.
Yeah, because when he was dating that girl, I think he even Takaki even mentions how he was dating this girl for 3 years, and he was in this company and all this stuff. But when he started that relationship here in that job and all that stuff, it was because, okay, I want to do this because I want to forget about her. And then he realized, you know what, this is not really it. So I got to try something different. I got to come to terms, and it wasn't fair, to be with this
Hmm.
person, even though he was still hung up with
Yeah,
all this stuff. And it's so sad. Like the girl still trying to talk, like call him and saying that she still feels something, and then mentioning how even if they were to exchange text messages, like thousands of them, they would still not get a centimeter closer
yeah,
because they were just that much apart in personalities. Like they were that much apart in their thoughts.
yeah,
So he had to come to terms, you know what? Like I got to start over and from scratch and kind of get over this girl because
yeah,
I know that even if I turn, I'm not going to see her.
yeah. And in my experience, I've been there. I've 100% been there. As far as I was from, people that I was really into back home, and I was in either Lubbock or I was in, my Houston. Oh, there I go, giving my location, right? Uh, I thought that, maybe once I get back, everything will be back to how it was, and I might have a chance to be with that person without taking into effect that that person probably has changed in the 6 months that I've been away from my home. Like, it's also not fair to that person that we're idealizing them and expecting them to wait.
Mm-hmm.
Like Takaki expects Akari to wait and kind of give him a chance, but we kind of just missed out on that part of our lives. And even though it hurts, and I 100% believe it does hurt, because it does, and I felt it. It hurts to have to come to terms with that. And that's why that final ending is the ending before the music comes in it's very cathartic in a sense. And I don't see it as a happy ending. I don't see it as a sad ending. I see it as very cathartic because it's kind of letting us, release this tension and this closure that we so want from people that sometimes we're just not gonna get.
Yeah, it kind of like you said, it's not happy, it's not sad. I mean, it all depends on your perspective, right? If you're a realist or you're a romanticist or all this
Yeah.
stuff. But I I mean, at least in my perspective, it gave you a sense of reality. Like
Yeah.
that's how real life is. Sometimes you just don't get the girl. Sometimes you just don't
Yeah.
get to meet later in life. I mean, and who knows? Maybe he does later in life when they're uh, old and have their own grandchildren.
Mm.
Who knows? Maybe they get back together. I mean,
Yeah.
I've seen it with my sister. It's like she dated this guy in high school and didn't see each other, didn't talk to each other for years, dated other people, blah blah, and then suddenly they talk back and now they're married.
Yeah.
So it I mean, there's people that might, but we can't hold on to that
Mhm.
like feeling of hoping. I mean, I'm all about hope personally, but as far as people go sometimes, or like relationships and stuff like that, you can't really expect the other person to hold on to everything,
Yeah.
because they have to move on. They have to experience life. They have to experience getting their heart broken. They have to experience
Yeah.
falling in love and doing all
Mhm.
these things, because then what's I feel like what would be the point on dating someone from a long time ago instead of seeing this new person
Yeah.
and getting to know them again? I think
Mhm.
that's a bit more romantic in my perspective, that
Yeah.
seeing, oh wow, like this person's grown so much or has been through so much and is now sharing it with me.
Yeah. And I've got to say, I think that that's what this film is more about. This is the real version,
Mhm.
of unrequited love. And then in Your Name, it's the fantasy, like the happy ending. Your Name is the
Yeah.
happy ending. This is the gut punch, the real life, the way
The
that
gut
the
punch.
the gut punch. This is how it actually works in the real life, in the real world.
Yeah.
Which is probably why some people, what's it called, are so attracted to Your Name, because that's the fantasy. That's the one we want. That's
Yeah.
the real, that we want, that moment in the train where we see that person and we somehow find them again in walking down the steps.
Reconnect.
We reconnect. That's what we want. But sometimes it's not that, and it's this. When that train goes by, that person isn't there anymore, and that was probably your last shot.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's hard to think about, but I mean, I think it's really cool that he portrays this in the movie. It
Yeah.
kind of it gives you the thought of, okay, this could happen and maybe this could also happen. It kind of levels on for
Yeah.
people that are probably more realistic, and
Yeah.
I guess it attracts another type of audience as well, to some point, because maybe some people don't like the realistic kind of
Yeah.
view. I mean, the unrealistic fantasy love story.
Mhm.
I mean, there's definitely people that say, hey, I like this because it's realistic and I can relate to it.
Yeah. Well, and I'm always getting crap on by Brad when he's like, "Why do you like sad movies so much?" And it's like, because it's cathartic to me. Uh, it's not. It's comforting to know that there's somebody out there that feels the same way as I do sometimes. But
Hmm.
it's also like life isn't all happy. Life fucking sucks sometimes, and it's nice to see it portrayed that way. And it's just, cinema to me should always be a mirror to the society that we live in. And sometimes that part of society is sad, it's gross, it's disgusting, it's all these things. And I think when we get a clear representation of that, we do have pretty good instances like this one where it's pretty realistic as to what it is. Now, you wanted to bring up the song that plays at the
Oh
end.
yeah,
I
the
wanted,
songs just like
yeah.
just it hits you because it makes you think maybe he didn't talk about these feelings during the movie,
Hmm.
but when you listen or read the lyrics because we saw it in Japanese, so we saw the subtitles. When you read the lyrics of this song, it kind of tells you exactly what he was doing during the movie. Because maybe he wouldn't say it, but he would look at places and just kind of react in certain ways. But in the song, it says that I'm always searching for your figure to appear somewhere in the opposite platform, in the windows of the street, even though I know you couldn't be there or you couldn't be in such a place. Like you would be, like it's happened to me where I'm at the gas station or something and I just have this feeling in my gut or like that I just like, what if this person suddenly appears here while I'm pumping gas? Or like, what if I'm at this HEB or this Walmart or whatever, and I turn this aisle and I suddenly see this person, and it gets me all anxious and happy, and then I get sad because I'm like, this will never happen. I don't know why I'm even having all these feelings, but it's stuff that sometimes you can't really control. So I don't know if you've ever had that happen to you.
Oh yeah, and there's a really good short film about that type of instance when you're at a convenience store and you find your old partner. And it was a really good short film where that partner was actually pregnant. And what's it called? That whole instance in the convenience store is them just actually realizing that they still have feelings for each other. And
God,
it's like
no.
it's such a good short film. I need to get the name of it again because it was really, really good. And I need to send it to you because it was I loved it. It was a really good short film.
I mean, it sounds really cool, but at the same time, like, damn, that
it's
must
also
have
like
hurt.
it's kind of shot in one take as well. So it's kind of like it's constantly changing perspectives because the camera will kind of follow the woman, and then once the woman comes to the man, it'll kind of follow the man now, and like it's a pretty cool take. It's a pretty good short film, but it's kind of it's pretty crazy. I'm gonna try to get that short from my professor that actually showed it to me because it was really good. It was really good. But no, I mean I've been there. Yeah, I've been there. I was like, oh, I'm coming back home. Like, damn, I'm gonna be in the mall. Like, what if I see her there and I get to like say hi and like maybe just maybe they'll be like, oh yeah, I kind of really felt this for you. And
Or maybe not even say hi, but just lock eyes,
lock eyes.
Even just that.
And just that, there's that great line in Pulp Fiction. And this is me kind of paraphrasing it. You've met someone special when you can shut the fuck up for 60 seconds with them, and just look at them, and it's just kind of that moment, like like just locking eyes and just kind of like, and feeling like as the world has stopped. And it just, it's pretty great. And but once again, it's just that part of our brains that just makes us fantasize about these people. And like you said, puts them on a higher pedestal than they actually are. Because like you said, it's not fair to make them wait. It's not fair to make them look like they are something more than they actually are. So Takaki kind of has to come to that to that realization, and it's perfectly summed up in that song. That song is to me more of an epilogue than it is like an anime closing. It's more of an epilogue saying like, here it is. This is everything I felt, and this is what my experience was with you. But I'm finally letting go. I'm kind of just throwing the bird to the wind and letting them fly away.
Yeah, because if you saw in the end, how they were that they were looking forward to each other's letters, and even just seeing a random post. What are those called? The ones where you put your letters and stuff in. Why am I forgetting my words? Mailboxes.
Mailboxes.
So dumb.
How you forget your own mailbox? You got a mailbox.
Yeah, but I mean, like the ones at the street, like the red mailboxes that just appear anywhere in Japan, like just they would see one and then turn at each other, and then they would even though they know they weren't writing to each other, they would try to open their mailbox to see if maybe they wrote back or maybe they sent something, even though they clearly know that it wouldn't happen anymore because they stopped, because neither of them wrote back, neither of them called back, because they knew it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah.
And it's just, seriously, it brings you to this reality. It brings you to thinking, wow, like I'm not the only one.
Yeah.
Turns out these feelings are not just made up in my mind.
No, and that's kind of the cathartic feeling of movies like this. It kind of makes you remember, I'm not the only one that feels this way. This is it's very human. And that's why I said this is a very grounded, real look at unrequited love. It's how everybody feels at one point in their lives. It's everybody has had that type of moment. And it's why I think a lot of the movies from Shinkai work so well with audiences, and why, why Your Name was, like, I think one of the highest grossing anime film for a while. And it's why he's such a renowned filmmaker, because he makes stories that, even though they're grounded in fantasy sometimes, they're very real most of the time. They're very real. The Garden of Words is very real. This is very real as well. Your Name, even though it's very fantasy based, the idea of that relationship, it feels real to you. It feels very, very much like something that you could experience at one point.
Yeah, that movie. Oh, well, we can't talk about that movie because that's not the movie that
Season 2, baby. Season 2.
We're talking about. Yeah, but definitely, if I were to compare it to this one in terms of the reality and the fantasy, it definitely gives you that feel of, both of them give you the feel of, I could be experiencing this at one point in my life, because it doesn't go overboard in the fantasy part of it, or like in the fantasy realm of it, because they still go by their days, and they both go by their days like it was any other day in their lives. The difference is they just had another perspective. And in this one, it felt the same, even though he's a guy and I'm a girl, and I wasn't feeling the same. We're not the same. I think that in the second part, when we get the perspective from the other girl, in that point I was like, okay, I feel what she's feeling. Like, I've been there. I've been on that moment where the feelings were not mutual. So that really helps kind of give you a thought of maybe what he's going through, or what maybe the other.
Story of my fucking life. It's constantly that the feelings are not mutual. Is there anything else you want to bring up before we call it a day?
No, I think that's pretty much it.
I think we covered everything.
Thank you. Huh?
I think we did cover everything.
Pretty much everything.
I do want to bring up one small thing.
What?
Yo, I want one of those scooters. I love those scooters. Those scooters were cool. I want one of those.
I know. Is it like a thing over there? Maybe.
Yeah,
that
like,
you just go on motorcycles, or like those.
I think I might actually be able to drive one of those things.
Maybe. I think I always had the thought of driving one, because at the university before, when I was an undergrad, there was a lot of people driving those around.
Yeah, mopeds.
And I was like, oh wow, what if I drove one to school?
Yeah, just like, it's so cool. I want one of those. I want one of those. If you guys can know where I can get one of those type of scooters, let me know. Even though I'm pretty sure that thing goes really slow, because they were leaving like still sun out, and they got home at basically the butt crack of dawn, man.
Hey, well, you don't know. They lived in this island in the rural area, and most of it was just farming. So maybe they just lived really far away, and they just had one school, and they all went to the same school, kind of thing.
Yeah. No, definitely. Well, Michelle, thank you for coming on with us, coming on with me again. I do play a game. We didn't get to play this game when we were here, but is there any movie I'll go ahead and open it up for you, because you are a weeb. Is there an anime you want to recommend to the people to watch?
Queen Weeb. That's
You're
the
Queen
name
Weeb,
that
baby.
Raul made for me now. The nickname.
Yeah, she's Queen Weeb, guys. That's her.
I'm
her
Queen
clan.
Weeb.
Yeah. you're Queen Weeb.
Let's see.
Yeah, movie or anime doesn't matter.
Well, there's this short anime that I told Raul to
Mhm.
watch. That's called Tokyo Magnitude 8.0.
Is
If
that on
you're in,
Crunchyroll?
I think so. Yeah, that's on Crunchyroll.
All right, I will watch that then during this
Yeah,
14-day trial.
it's about 12 episodes long. I always feel that the shorter anime are the ones that touch you the most
Oh
because
yeah.
they just put all that information in there for you to just
Mhm.
sink in. But definitely, if you're into kind of a disaster type of thing or kind of coming of age movies, oh well, series or anime series, you should definitely watch that one. It's
Mhm.
really, really cool. Don't want to spoil it and say a lot of stuff, but you could probably uh figure out what it's going to be about by just the title of it.
Tokyo
Tokyo
Magnitude
Magnitude 8.0.
8.0. Tokyo Magnitude 8.0. All right, and you pretty much what's it called? Call dibs on all of Shinkai. You never
Yeah.
actually said which movie you want to call dibs for season 2. You kind of want to tell the people which movie you want to come back for season 2. Which one do you want to start with?
Ooh.
This one's a
I,
yeah. You've got a lot to choose from. You can choose your name, but I don't know how much you want to keep holding that one out. You just kind of want to keep
I don't
rubbing it
I
in people's
don't
faces. Like I call dibs on that one, losers. Like I get to do whatever I want.
well, I don't know. It's because I you really like that movie too, so
Yeah.
I think it'd be really like the perspective that we could give to this movie because we paid so much attention to it. I think I've watched it like at least 10 times
Yeah.
from paying attention to all those little details. I don't know if you want to start off with that or leave it till the end.
I mean, you can do whatever you want. This is the movie you want to start season 2 with, and season 2 is gonna be great because we what's it called? This show has done. It's been better than I expected. Like I did not expect to, because this type of show is something I've always wanted to do, guys, and I've always wanted to try something like this. I just thought I'd come off as more of a snob when I talk about these things because that's kind of the thing. People sometimes misinterpret my passion for film as being a snob. So I thought, talking about, thematic parts of a film and just, very various aspects would come off as that. So I've been enjoying this much more. So in season 2, we're actually going to add 5 more episodes to accommodate for 5 more guests who want to come in, 5 extra new ones. So Michelle, you can choose whatever you want. What do you want to come back for season 2? What do you want to start season 2 with?
I
'Cause-
was thinking your name has to be definitely before Weathering with You.
yeah,
So I think your name would be great.
you want to come back from your name. You want to do the big one. You want to do the big one.
What
The
about the other one? What's it called?
Perfect Blue.
The voice of Perfect Blue. We said we were gonna do Perfect Blue later,
Yeah.
no?
No, what's it called? That's what part of me not wanting to reveal what guests are coming on.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
never mind.
But
Well, the city of
the children who chase lost voices.
the children who chase lost voices. Because I actually have never seen that one,
Yeah.
so we could probably come up with. Because you haven't seen it either, right?
No.
I think it'd be cool to
I'm
do
I'm
that one.
I'm exploring this guy as I go on with you. That's pretty much
Okay.
as it's going.
Perfect.
So-
we could definitely do that one.
It's interesting because we watch Weathering with You together. We watch Garden of Words for this one. We watch this one for this one as well. So I'm really kind of exploring this filmmaker with you as you take me on this journey with me. Your name, I bought that one because I was constantly recommended it and stuff. So
yeah,
that was
I
the only
remember I
one.
told you.
Yeah,
Watch it.
yeah. So I'm kind of just going with this along with you in this journey. So it's kind of pretty cool to do that. So that's it, my friends. Michelle will come back for season 2, and she's gonna open up with a bang because we're gonna talk your name in season 2. Wow, that's gonna be a good one. A good conversation we're
Yeah.
gonna have on that. So that I don't know. I might throw it out there. Michelle might take me to 2 hours in season 2 with that. You never know.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So without a further ado, it's been a really wonderful time. Michelle, can you let them know where they can find you?
Yes. So you can find me at _ Michelle with 2 E's, Ochoa with 2 A's. If you want to follow me, please make sure you follow the Nerdy Chicano or the Nerdcore, because if you don't and you're just this random person trying to follow me, I will not accept you. I've been having so many random people trying to follow me. I'm like, dude, I don't even know who you are. And at least if you follow Raul or the Nerdcore, then I will know that you're probably one of my listeners. So thank you so much for having me, Raul. I really appreciate you considering me to be part of the podcast with you.
Yeah, not just once, twice now.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you'll be back for more. And as
Yeah.
always, you are a Patreon supporter. You always have the chance to come on the live show whenever you want. So it's that's always an avenue for you. And you're also one of the people on my short list whenever we do a anime review that we have to contact. So
Yeah.
don't worry. It's what's it called? You're always in the back of my head, and we're always constantly talking. So don't worry. You have your chance to come back and constantly come back. So as always, you guys can find me at the Nerdy Chicano on both Instagram and Twitter. You can go to nerdcore.com to check out my written reviews. I do a lot of reviews. I'm working on doing a new piece for the site because guess what? We're during a pandemic. I can't really review any new movies that are coming out because there's no new movies coming out. Not the ones that I could spend money on right now to watch. So,
I heard that they were going to start putting them online, though.
Yeah, they're online. I just can't spend money to buy those movies right now. But I am doing some pieces on some of my favorite movies. I do want to do something on the topic of desire in Gaspar Noé's Love next, because that's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I want to thank you all so much for getting that episode 479 views on YouTube. You guys are horny bastards. You guys are some horny bastards. So thank you so much for that. And as always, make sure you follow the Nerdcore, the podcast network that hosts this show and a lot of other shows on Twitter at the Nerdcore_, Instagram at the Nerdcore. Also, want to thank the wonderful Patreon supporters that makes this show happen, like, our producers and all the other people who help us out. So thank you all so much for that. And as always, I don't have an outro, my friends. So I just ask this. Kick back, relax, put on Netflix, or, crank open that Blu-ray you've got next to you that you want to rewatch that movie. Or dudes do this. Go and do a blind buy. Those always surprise me.
Blind buy?
A blind buy, yeah. You go to, what's it called? You go to like Amazon or something and buy a movie that you've never watched. I've done that before with You Were Never Really Here. I bought it on Amazon. I got the Blu-ray and I ended up loving the movie. I've never seen it before and I loved it. And
I'll try it.
Do a blind buy, my friends, and buy something you've never watched and see how it stacks up for you. So just have a good time, watch a movie, and remember, my friends, we'll catch you on the next episode when we invite Bradley Simmons again to discuss one of the saddest movies of all time, Grave of the Fireflies.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.